Man, welcome back to Man Time. Today's episode, part 2 of how to run old yellow iron. We just got all this dirt moved. Now we need to spread it out and make it nice and flat over here with some old yellow iron. Welcome to Man Time. Beautiful clay. Yeah, so I'm under my new barn door, I guess you could call it an awning. This is where a lot of the work for the vehicles is going to get done. I had to move some clay in over here, and behind me here, this is my old piece of yellow iron that I refurbed, restored, built back up so it actually worked out, whatever you want to call it. So in this episode, we're going to go through the controls of the machine. Looking at the gauges, looking at the pedals, looking at the controls. Same thing with the dump truck, which I've got right over here. Those things are really important to know when you're operating the piece of machinery. Let's go check them out. Yeah, there's one more thing I neglected to mention in that first episode, and that is your pre-flight inspection. You really want to look over the machine and make sure, down in here, a wood rat hasn't built a nest. There isn't stuff like piled up around your clutch or your transmission. Nothing stuffed in the bottom of the air intake. No cracks, on anything. Yeah, for the longest time, this thing scared me. I thought it was a crack, but it's just some sort of weird run in the paint. But let's get up here. Oh, another thing you want to check is your batteries and your cables, and making sure everything is good to go there. No wood rats have chewed through anything that's too important, but you can see there a wood rat tried to make this his home at one point. Yeah, pretty neat. On these older pieces of equipment, they've actually got, like wiring schematics etched in metal plates, and service. So if you're wondering how to service your vehicle in these old machines, well, you just look right on the machine. Not too difficult. I just ended up changing this little piece out here too. This spring was broken and this door was flapping in the wind, and that was just a real treat. Ugh. Let's get up here and let's look at the controls. Yeah, here's this cage I was talking about to support the radiator. I haven't had the radiator crack or break since I did that. But right here we've got all of our controls. And you can see here you've got engine temp, water temp. This one is going to be oil pressure, charging, and fuel pressure. And this here used to be lights. It hasn't been lights for some time, but right here is your on-off switch. You got heat, off, and start. So when you go to start up the vehicle, you got glow plugs in it. If it's a diesel, you turn it and again count to 15 and then start it over. If you have a gauge on your piece of equipment that isn't working, I wouldn't run the machine. There's certain types of failures that can be really catastrophic really fast if you don't know that your temperature is in the red, right? You can be running along and smell something kind of funny and think it's nothing, and then have your engine just completely crater, and what could have been, a salvageable repair is now a complete loss. So, word of the wise there, make sure your gauges are functional. Like I said here, two-stage clutch brake, double brake with a lock, and then again double stage, braking the right track and then braking and clutching the left track on this side. This side here we got forward and reverse, and it's got a lock again down here. Click that on and then you can click through the gears. This is a 3-speed hydrostatic, and one of the only good hydrostatic systems that I know of. And then right here you got your throttle. Basically click it from off, and then you can throttle it up and down with that right there. And over here you got your bucket controls. Now, no labels on here, and so same thing with like a, I don't know, backhoe or dozer. What you want to do there is just start off real slow. These are, you know, pressure sensitive, so you basically never just want to hammer the control like all the way. You can ease into it and something will start happening, right? So that's really the way you want to approach it. Oh, my mistake right here. We've got control layout. But if that was missing, again, go through that process, ease it in to a position. Let's look at the gauges in the dump truck. Oh, here again, first thing you want to do is a pre-flight inspection. Looking at everything, making sure that, again, there's no animals living in here. Cats, dogs, wood rats, mice, any of the above, making sure, you know, all your wiring is still intact, that sort of thing. Like the first thing I'm looking at is right here, all these airlines, making sure none of those are chewed through or have like chew marks on them. Yeah, just making sure there's no leaks or anything like that. And now let's jump into the cab. Battery box located here, hydraulic reservoir right there. Again, making sure that that's not leaking. Now the really important part, again, is actually this lever right there, the red one. Go figure, huh? Just as important as the lever right there is going to be that red lever and the way that you engage it. So that's going to be your PTO. The important things there before engaging the PTO, make sure you're in neutral, and then make sure the clutch is in, and then you can, you know, engage it into the on position while the vehicle's running. You don't want to do that while the either the vehicle is in gear or the clutch is out. Both of those two things. Right here is going to be your air brakes and, you know, parking brake. Essentially pushing that in releases the brakes. Here's your air pressure right there, also very important. And again, gauges, very important. Making sure that all of your gauges work. And I think that is basically it. This is a pretty simple machine. Just an up and down right there with the PTO engaged. You can raise and then lower, you know, the dump bed. And this one has an Allison 5-speed, 6-speed. Yeah, Allison 6-speed would reverse way over here toward the driver's side. Man, I am loving this Texas fall. It's so nice to have like 90 degrees, and it feels like 90 degrees. Like this is after 110 for, you know, 30, 40, 50 days straight. When it gets down below 100, it's just like, oh, thank God. Anyways, if you're like wondering like how to get this type of equipment, I'll just tell you how I got my pieces of equipment. When I got my homestead property here, I immediately like started a side business, right? The first side business was firewood. You can see around me, I mean, there's trees just everywhere. And we had a really bad drought. Like it was 90 days of over 100 degrees, 90 days in a row over 100 degrees. And no rain during that entire time. Might have been one like light shower. But like I had a ton of trees die. Oaks, elms, hardwoods. And so, I mean, I got the property with some outbuildings full of junk, and the owner left a Husqvarna 350 and an old John Deere, and I got that John Deere running the summer before, so that was running, and then I had a little lawn tractor that I got running that was on the property, my John Deere 400, if you've seen any of my other videos. I was skidding logs with both of those two, using that John Deere 350, like, until it blew up, and then I got a 455. But I was making money, doing firewood steady, right? Like 5, 6, 7 cords a season, $200 delivered. Around here is what I was getting. So might even be 300 nowadays. Hard to say. But that's a good way to start out. Now I'm doing hay. So I initially, when I got the property, I leased the hay field. So I was doing bales on the halves. So somebody would come in, bale all the hay, and then sell it. And we would basically split the profits. So that was really nice. Neighbor just, maybe a quarter mile away, who has a hay field and did hay. He would just bring his equipment over, do my hay field, and so I was making money off of that and the firewood. So first thing I bought, old yellow iron. I didn't know much about a track loader, but when I saw a picture of that thing for $2,000, first come, first serve, I was like on my way after work, checking it out. Engine was locked up, wouldn't turn over. Like, I spent a weekend up there. Like, I agreed to buy it, wrote him a check right there for $1,000. Said give me a couple weeks. I'm going to come up here next weekend and bring some tools and stuff and try to get it running. Couldn't do that. The crank was just like, I would have broke the crank if I had tried to put any more torque than what I had on it, or the cheap Harbor Freight breaker bar, either one. But that's how I got that one. That was $2,000, and then about $2,000 delivered. It might have been $2,500, something like that. So for under $5,000, I got that. And then, again, saving up, doing the firewood, doing the hay on the halves. I ended up starting to get hay equipment. So then I started making more money. And when this became available, this one had electrical issues. The battery kept dying, right? It had a slow discharge somewhere in the system. I ended up finding that in a video. If you want to go back and subscribe and check that out. I think it's called Fighting Electrical Gremlins or something in a dump truck. But there was a wire that had several spots where it was going to ground, and I think I've got it pretty much done. But initially, to solve that problem, I just put an inline switch, ground interrupt switch, to only charge the batteries or get them to ground when I needed to run it. So that's my advice. Get a side hustle, save up your money, and then you can have money to buy stuff like this when it comes up and becomes available. So, yeah, towing bill on that one, getting it over here, was ridiculous. Oh, one more thing. When you go to shut your equipment off, you can see up there, well, maybe not, but there's a coffee can in the exhaust. And I put that on there like immediately as soon as I get done running it. If you leave that open, it's just an open stack, right? It's manifold to open stack, and if you leave that off and overnight temperature drops, 20 degrees or 30 degrees or whatever, condensation immediately gets down into your head, onto your valves, starts rusting everything. So immediately get something that's semi tight on there to keep that rust out of the engine, and then maintain it. Start it up at least. I do all my equipment at least once a month, if not more. So let's fire it up and get some dirt moving. down and grabbed enough dirt. I may need one more dump truck load from right here. This is the lowest spot right in front of the new barn dominium. All the water kind of comes to this spot and then off. So I'm trying to get a little bit more level. Well, that was the Caterpillar 941 track loader. They call it a track excavator, oddly enough. Pretty efficient machine as far as like very quickly smoothing the dirt out, getting it about where it needs to go. I'm going to leave it loose like this so I can come back with the tractor and the swivel grater blade. And yeah, that way I can just kind of, move it and get my pole and figure out, 1/4 inch per foot drop and all that good stuff. But yeah, if you like this type of stuff, make sure to subscribe. Lots more of it to come. Barn dominium getting finished out to become a house. And yeah, get out there, have you some man time too.